The reason why I'm sitting here in my living room is because I wanted to do a video that is a little bit different. Today I'm going to be talking about bands that I listen to that aren't metal or goth. I know, crazy. Goths who can listen to things that aren't goth or metal. So the first band, actually this is in no particular order, but the first band that I'm gonna be talking about is my all-time favorite band, Kiss. I have been listening to them since I was like, I think 3.5 years old, 4 years old, something like that. And I am going on 26 in September. Thanks, Dad. They started everything for me. Like, they opened my eyes and my ears to music and basically created what is now my special interest, music. Because even back then, when I was like 4 or 5 years old, I would know the most unimportant, random things about my favorite bands. I still do. And I am so grateful to them for that. And a few years ago, I actually got a tattoo of them on my thigh. No, you weirdos, I will not be stripping down for you to see it. But it is on my thigh. I've seen them 5 times. Sometimes they were good. Sometimes they sounded like they swallowed broken clarinets. And also, if you're wondering why I'm moving around like this, it's because my autistic ass cannot sit still on a chair. So, moving on to the next band. It is Japan and David Sylvian, and I am putting these two together because they're really up there with Kiss for me. I discovered them Japan, and then in pretty much one go it was David Sylvian, and I discovered their music in, I don't remember exactly, but it was almost 10 years ago. I don't know how, but I am so glad I did, because their music means a lot to me, and so does David's. You know, his song speaks to me in a very personal way that pretty much nobody else has been able to do. And next up is, might be a surprise to some people, and it might not surprise the people who know me. It is Miley Cyrus. I adore her so much, and I've been a huge fan of her since the first episode of Hannah Montana, so it's 20 years now. Holy shit. I am old. I saw her live during the Bangers tour, and it was, for those who haven't seen her live during the Bangers era, let me just tell you that it was like my 14-year-old self was tripping on acid or any kind of drug. It was a trip. It was the most absurd and weird thing that I've ever seen in my life, but I loved every moment of it. So while I'm sad that she is not doing any world tours anymore, I am still glad that I did get to see her. So, Michael Jackson. Ladies and gentlemen, do I need to explain why? Because it's not just because of his music. It's also because of who he was as a person. And everything that he did, pretty much. I'm going to be moving on to David Bowie now. Because I've listened to David Bowie since I was 4.5 or 5 years old, something like that. If you don't believe me, you can ask my dad. And he was like this to me. I had obviously not experienced the world a lot by the age of 5, but to me he was this like super weird, misunderstood thing. Or yeah, because to me he was like, he wasn't human. He was like a cartoon to me, because of everything that was going on, everything from his makeup to his hair and to the way he dressed, and you know. And so as an undiagnosed autistic kid, I absolutely fell in love with that, because I felt misunderstood at the time, and he helped me understand that being weird is maybe not such a bad thing. It's just because he did his own thing, no matter how misunderstood he was, because not a lot of people understood him. And you know, so can the seagulls just please shut up? That is why he was very important to me, and he still is, because he did his own thing, no matter what. And that in itself taught me that it's okay to be different. That is something that I've always loved about him. Lady Gaga, I love her so much. And you know, back when I was a kid, my main songs, which would probably be like my theme songs at the time, Poker Face, Paparazzi, and Bad Romance. Those were the only songs that I listened to at some point. And The Fame was one of the albums that I listened to the most as a kid. You know, and you know, something that I've always loved about Lady Gaga is that she, like David Bowie, has always done her own thing. She has never made music the way that she's supposed to. And she is not afraid of experimenting and trying new things. You know, she's just a musical genius. I love her so much, and I hope to see her one day. The Dolphin Brothers. Some of you may think, the who brothers? The what now brothers? Because some of you may not have heard of the Dolphin Brothers, but it is, or was, should I say, a duo that was consisting of Steve Jansen and Mark Barbieri. I think that's how you pronounce his name. At some point I was in a Japan David Sylvian episode, like pretty much always. And so I kind of got into a bit of a rabbit hole, and along with Raintree Crow, I also discovered the Dolphin Brothers. But if you are a fan of Japan and David Sylvian and, you know, anything in the likes of that, you really should go check out the Dolphin Brothers. Next up is Nina. She was one of the first artists that I discovered when I first started listening to synthwave. Not too many years ago, actually, but she's one of the first artists that actually got me into the genre, which is still one of my favorite genres of all time. Oh my god, the stupid seagulls. One of my favorite songs in general is Automatic Call. And it was, I think, the first song that I heard by her. If synthwave is something that you're into or something that you would want to discover, then Nina is worth a listen. Queen. I'm not talking about Nina, I am talking about the band, because that is something, you know, their music is something that I grew up listening to. And so I still listen to their music, not as frequently as the rest of the people that I have mentioned in this video. But I still love their music very much, and I still listen to them. Excuse me? That was rude. What did I just tell you? Moving on. Duran Duran was one of the first bands that I listened to when I got into 80s music a little more than 10 years ago. In 2020, I was supposed to see them perform at Skansen here in Stockholm. But then COVID happened. But I am happy that I am finally getting to see them later this year in October. So that's gonna be fun. Now for the very first band that I listened to, or artist that I listened to in terms of synthwave, Neon Nox. Neon Nox was the first artist that I listened to in terms of synthwave, the first artist that got me into the genre. And their song Fahrenheit was the first song that I listened to in terms of synthwave, and also therefore the song that got me into synthwave. So that is a song that I still listen to very often, and I still listen to their music very often. Last but not least, Dance with the Dead. Also one of the first artists or bands actually that I listened to when it comes to synthwave, and also one of the bands that got me into synthwave. And something that I also really love about Dance with the Dead is how they're mixing metal music with like the heavy guitars and the drums and everything with synthwave. So that is something that I've always really loved about them. I think that will do it for today's video, actually. I hope you enjoyed it, because it was fun to just sit down and talk. And also I will be recording another video right now. If I look the same in the next video, it's because I am recording the next video as I'm finishing this up. Anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then like and subscribe. And I will... The fucking honking. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.